Hey there fellow gamers, Toasty Fresh, back once again after a bit of an absence. I'm back in the collecting game and doing an update video. This time out, some more PlayStation 2 stuff, which is my main collection really, about 300, 400 plus games now. And I'm going to go over a few games over the next few days and weeks, as I've got a bit of a backlog to get through. These, as far as I can recall, I can't even say the word, chronologically, the earliest ones I can remember getting, these are from just before Christmas, sometime like that, just late last year. It was from a guy in Blackburn, being from Lancashire, seen it on a local selling site, and I thought, why not have a look and see what he got. He was advertising a big haul of PlayStation 2 stuff. I went round to his house and it ended up being like a hoarder's paradise. He had like a big room, like wall-to-wall games, and even horror movies and other kind of DVDs as well. And it turns out he'd been on breaking jobs. He'd been buying up stuff and trying to sell it on as a trader. Hadn't quite worked out, and he was trying to just get rid of the stuff to make up room for turning the room into a nursery for his newly arrived son. So that's what he was doing. I went and saw there wasn't too much that I actually needed, and not really being much of a person just for selling stuff on. I didn't really buy anything just for the sake of it. I only bought what I needed. So this is where this modest stat comes from. He did have some original Xbox stuff, but again, he promised that out already. It was already on eBay, undergoing bids, so he couldn't let me take any of those things off his hand. I think he had a few GameCube games as well, which I was really tempted to get, but alas, they'd already been promised, or either that or they were still under bids. And he was an honest guy, wasn't gonna, pull them off eBay. So this is what I've got to show you. The first up, the one that intrigued me kind of the most, Scalar, which is kind of a platform game along the lines of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, that kind of thing. And it also has a bit of a Spyro vibe there. It's about this young boy who notices that people in his town are secretly aliens from another planet they're trying to take over, and he goes over, finds a way to get over into their world, and that's where he becomes this dragon. It's kind of interesting. It's actually also got a bit of a cameo kind of feel to it when I read through the manual and things like that. I haven't really fired it up yet. Where you get different dragon forms. So kind of like the cameo thing where you got different forms to take. This one, they're all dragons and lizard kind of creatures, but it's the same kind of idea. It was made by Artificial Mind and Movement company, who started off as being called Behaviour, and they made Jersey Devil and the Bugs Bunny game for the PlayStation 1. Then they got bought out, they changed the name to Artificial Mind and Movement, and they made a lot of caching games and things like that. Scalar was one of the ones that was kind of an actual game outside of being a licensed product. Later on they made Wet as well, the action game for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox, and Naughty Bear as well was one of them. They changed the name back to Behaviour later on, and they made some other games. A lot of them, again, caching games, but they did do some independent stuff, kind of more on mobile and kind of stuff like that, like Fallout Shelter was one of the games they've made. They changed the name though back to that because of this unfortunate logo they had, A to M, which if you're in certain circles that can mean something else rather colourful. And it was also published by Global Star, who are owned by Take-Two, who own Rockstar and 2K. So also moving on, I got WallE. So there's a few licensed games in here. The ones that I hadn't got, and I thought it was something maybe that I could get my kids into. My little girl doesn't really seem to be into playing video games, which is fine. But I thought I'd get them just to try and entice her into it. And that was made by Sobo, who made a lot of licensed games, mainly Disney, stuff like Up and a few other Disney titles they've done. Scooby-Doo First Frights is another one that's that kind of thing. Published by Warner Brothers and made by Taurus, who I recognise Taurus because they developed the very first game I ever played on the Game Boy Advance, Jackie Chan's Adventures, Legend of the Dark Hand. And that was a pretty passable side-scrolling beat-em-up, kind of Double Dragon kind of vibe to it, with a little bit more depth where you could learn new moves and things like that. And that was their staple, again, was making licensed games and things like that, and ports to portable consoles like the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color. They did the port of Doom 2, I think, for the Game Boy Advance. Moving on, I got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Again, that was published by Global Star. This again is one of those kind of similar games to the others, 3D adventure kind of game, licensed product, and that was made by High Voltage, who again did a lot of that kind of stuff, licensed products, and then later on they went into doing porting games like Mortal Kombat and Saints Row for the new consoles like the PlayStation 4 and PC. Next up, I got SpiderMan, Friend or Foe, and this is one of them that I didn't get. Sadly, it's not complete and it's a bit battered, but I could put a new case for that. But it lets me play it at least, and this one's a bit of a different one where you can make a superhero / villain team with people that you beat. You can have them working for you after you've beat them. So that looks kind of interesting, and I've got most of the other games, Spider-Man games for the PS2, so that's why I picked that one up. That was made by Next Level Games, which this was one of the few games that they made outside of Nintendo stuff, and now they're a Nintendo exclusive developer. They made Mario Strikers and Strikers Charge for the Wii and the GameCube, and they made a few other games like Luigi's Mansion 2, and the port of the original Luigi's Mansion for the 3DS as well. Next up is Batman, the video game, Lego. And these are great fun. I've already played this before when we used to have the gaming service on PlayStation 4, PlayStation Plus games. And I played through this. So it was interesting to get this. It's a bit battered, and again, it's not complete, but as long as the game works, it was pretty good value. I think it was something like 3 for 5 of these games. So I picked that up. That was Telltale Games, who have a pedigree in that kind of thing. They've made a lot of Lego games now, and they also made Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex and Haven Call to the King for the PlayStation 2. And I think even before that, going back before that, they made Rascal for the PlayStation 1. I remember playing the demo to that on one of the official magazines. And then 2 games that are more for me, just for me, and that's the Red Star, which I don't know much about that really, the people who made it. It was Archangel Studios who developed this game, which I honestly don't really know much about them, but it's in great nick, this one, apart from the ugly cash converter sticker on it. But it looks interesting. It's kind of like an asymmetric stick shooter kind of game, set in a fictional Soviet state, where you can pick as one of these 3 characters, and it looks quite good. I'll have to give it a go and see what it's like. And last but not least, I got Dead to Rights 2, which was published by Widescreen Games, which I don't know much about them, and published by Namco. Namco did, I think, do the port to the PC, but they didn't actually develop the game, I don't think, fully. So either that or they got help with it anyway. And that's complete and looks great. And I've got most of the other games, unless there's one that I don't know about. I've got the first one for the PlayStation 2. And I've got Retribution, I think it's called, for the PSP. Which that's the only one that I've actually played some of is Retribution, which wasn't really great. I found it a bit clunky and awkward to play through. But those are the games I've got, and so I was interested to see that and see what it's like. My 2 picks of those bunch are probably Scalar, because it doesn't actually look that bad graphics wise, and Red Star, they're probably my pick, plus with the fact that the people who made that made Wet, which is also a bit of an underrated gem apparently. But that's all I got time for on this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing a bit of what I've collected, and I'm going to be back real soon to do another video for you guys, which I'll see you then. But it's game over from me.